Welcome back, students. And in today's meeting, we are now going to look at the issue about solving of the quadratic equations. Remember what I said that time, say we have got the three methods. So far I just look at one, solving quadratic equations by factor method. So today, having learned something in the past about the completing of the square, would like now to use that knowledge into solving quadratic equations. So that's why the topic here is about solving quadratic equations by completing of the square. Right, so let us have these examples on the board. Right, so here we are. Solve the following equations by completing of the square, not by factor method. A, x squared plus 4x minus 4 is 0, and then 2y squared plus 14y plus 9 is 0. Right, so what I want you to do is stay focused and then take note of the procedures that will help us to come up with the values of the variable. Like in this case, we have got x in this equation. So what we have here, we need to find the value of x. Right, so in this case, we are there now to solve, as I already said here, the value of x by completing of the square. First step, without wasting much of our time. What we need is only this expression first, which we need to make it as a perfect square. What then we're going to do is transfer this term, which is a constant term, to the right hand side, such that when we do that, we'll have x squared plus 4x. When this gets there, it will be equal to a 4. So always remember that when you need to solve quadratic equation by completing of the square, make sure that you have got an expression which is in two terms by what we discussed earlier in completing of the square. So you at least just concentrate on only x squared plus 4x, while this constant number should go to the right hand side. Once you have done that, the next step that you do is making this expression the perfect square by the method itself. So what we do here is what we have already done in the previous example, where you have your x squared plus 4x, then you add a term to this one to make a perfect square. So I said this term is coming from the tampering of the coefficient of the term which is non-quadratic. That's the talk of the coefficient of the variable of the term which is non-quadratic. So in this case, we talk of a 4. That one has to be halved or divided by 2 or multiplied by half. That's the language you can use. Then you square it. So the same thing you do on the left-hand side, according to the rules of the equation. That is variation. So you have to at least sort that one out. So which means what means has been done to this side should also be done on the other side. There it's more like you are trying to balance up the equation. So if here I've added this amount, then the same amount should also be added here, 4/2 squared. Right. So once we have done that, you look at the equation itself, the terms will be there, and wherever you can simplify, do the simplification. So like in this case, you have your x squared plus 4x plus, you can allow to get into the 4, you have a 2, this one has to be powered up by a 2, then here it goes on, you can still more like that one in the bracket. You have got a 4 plus, to get there, it also gets 2, then squared. Then we keep on simplifying where necessary. Here we have x squared plus 4x, this will give you a 4, and here we've got 4 plus a 4 then. Right. So the result that you get here at this stage, which is x squared plus 4x plus 4. This expression is now a perfect square. It is coming from this part there. So what we are doing here in the step 1 here is transferring this to the right hand side. Secondary, you are there trying to complete the square. Right, these things I think we have already mentioned here of this one here. That's what we are doing until we get this one. From this, we are going now to factorize this expression here. So you complete the square, you have this one, then factorize. So here again, I'll also be brief. We have already done issue about factorization. So if you are going to factorize this one here, you are there going to obtain identical factors, which are x plus 2, then x plus a 2, which is simply written as 1, like x plus 2, then squared. And on this other side is simply just adding this and that and get what? 8. That's what you have there. Right. Another simple way on how you can factorize this one to be faster, because sometimes on this part here, you may get a term which is very complicated. It may become difficult for you to factorize this expression as quickly as you can. So the simple method that you can do is the same as doing the factorization by grouping. It's just simply by lighting the two brackets, like this, and light the power 2. To obtain the same what we had when we factorize this one, you just have to consider what the variable in this expression. It is x. Then now, when you were dividing a coefficient by a 2, what did you got? I got 2. If I got 8, if I got -7, that number, that or say result, is the one has to be written here. So in this case, we divided 2 here, we got +2. So I have to write a 2 there. If it was -3, I'll write -3. Look at this part. So simply write a variable x, then plus a 2, what you get at this position. Right, position of dividing the coefficient by a 2, like this, then just write a 2. It's the same as you can factorize. So now from there, simple. Let's isolate x. This will just come in by the same situation where you can meet sometimes the simple equation like x squared is equal to maybe what? Talk of 25. What do you do to solve the value of x? You just take the square root on both sides. You take the square root here, you take the square root there. So x here is represented by a bracket. So here there's a bracket power. It's as good as having x as a power. As a what? Okay, a bracket is powered. It's as good as having x be powered. If here I take the square root, here I can also take the square root. I take the square root on this side again. So it means 8 should also be taken as a number. That means it's square root. So we have to take the square root on this side. We also do the same on the other side. So what we have now is just like something like you take the square root of this one. It will be a single expression which is x plus 2. And here you'll have the square root of 8. Right. But now you should also be informed. That is, when we are taking the square root of a number, always the square root of a number is positive or negative. Like the square root of a 4 is 2 or -2. Because each one of them, when you multiply by itself, you get a 4. 2 times 2 is a 4. -2 times -2 times -2 is a 4. So here we consider everything. So if I'm to take the square root of 8, I need to be able to understand that there's a positive and a negative result. Right. So once that one is done, it means that the brackets here are just useless. So you can write this one x plus a 2 and then come in plus or negative. You go straight by use of the calculator, you take the square root of 8. Where in this case, according to my scribbling, it is found like the square root of 8 is 2 point, that is 82, that is 84. So you go by that. Now next, what do you do? Like terms together. So you have V2 being transponded to the right hand side, where you shall have your x is equal to a 2 is positive. Now here it turns out to be negative. So there to be negative, that's talk over -2 itself. We have that one as talk over 2 plus or minus. What you get there is just 2 point, that is 80 to 84. Right. So in this other part, what you do is just simple. So what you have here is just a matter of having your x is equal to -2, where you have got the positive and negative there. It simply means just splitting the signs into 2. Right. So here, as a student, you have done a lot of this in the past. So what you do here, just split that one minus 2. It will be attached with a positive. You write 2.80. That's the 284. Or you have that's talk over. That's the minus 2. The same minus 2 should now subtract this one here. That is the talk of a 2.80. Talk of what? That's a 284, like that. So now from that juncture, you can be able to play around with that. As a mathematician, you can be able to solve this one out. That's a minus 2 plus this one, and then or minus 2 minus this one. You can do that one out. So here you get, that's a this plus this one. What you get, just like this minus this, you get that is 0.8284. But here you get that is a negative 4.8284. But now you may now decide from that angle. Usually in exam, they may ask you to correct the answer to a certain number of decimal places. So you go by that. So here we can decide to correct the value of x, maybe to 2 decimal places or to 3, but now let's just go for 2 decimal places. So which means this one will give you x is equal to 0.83 to 2 decimal places. It means this one is the next one. You have got 2 values after decimal point 1, 2, and look at the next digit is 8. This is collected to 1. It means 1 to divide the 2, you get a 3. Or negative 4.0. That is 80. The same way, it will be a 3. So at this juncture, it means you have really found the value of x. Right. Thank you very much for listening.